Okay, so we've gone to medieval times in Schaumburg 4 times. You might notice the 3 flags in the background. Um, so we were planning on going there before we heard that was an all brand new show. Before you want to ask, we got the red and yellow knight, which we've already had the flag for. So things that they've changed. Initially, during the opening sequence, they had the fog come in. They would have, I would call him Alchem the Executioner, and he'd crack a whip, this loud like thunderclap. That wasn't there. Kind of makes sense, it didn't really do a lot thematically with the show, just kind of this big like boom and medieval times. They mentioned add an additional character. There's now a king. So the king and the queen. So one's east, one's west. So they each have their 3 knights on their side. For ours, we went on the Saturday in between Christmas and New Year's in 2024 for the Schaumburg Castle. With ours, the queen was one who was like, I really do wish that the knights kill each other. Where the king was like, but when I was a knight, my life was spared, and I'm all the better for it. Where the queen's like, yes, but the bird needs to hunt. So that probably switches back and forth. They also did very specifically call out the Russian terminology, the heel. They did kind of like, was it wise to bring this knight along? But he's a very fine warrior. So they let you know who the bad guy is. If you haven't been to medieval times, as they're doing the tournament portion, one of them does become the bad guy. Which makes sense. And depending, sometimes good guys win, sometimes the bad guy wins. So those aspects are immediately different. The falconry thing is the same, which is beautiful. I love falconry. It's amazing. I actually got to, the falconer was out there. He's been the falconer there for I think like a decade. You talk about the different birds they have, all the birds that they have. So they do one bird per show. The birds get all this training. It was amazing. Falconry it's tremendous. I love the falconry aspect of it. Food is the same. I will say the eclair was better. So you took his dragon blood, tomato bisque soup, delicious, herbaceous, incredibly rich. The garlic bread, same bread. The half of a dragon is still, half a chicken. The dragon tail, corn on the cob, still the same. The half dragon egg, the roast potato wedge, still the same. But the eclair was better, so I'll give them points for that. So the real big changes to it, initially when they had the horses come out, you would have, just 2 horses come out and they would do their routines. Beautiful horses. And then the one who'd kind of run semi-freely. They still have that, but now they do, let's call it a cavalry. So numerous knights on horseback come out, and they do this really intricate. I've seen some of the commercials on YouTube. You see like the light show and the horses going around. That is really well done. It's a real technical marvel watching multiple people cross in and out, whether it's as lines going this way or as a circle crossing back and forth with some different line effects. If you like the horses from the original ones, this is a lot more horses. My wife and daughter loved it. They thought it was fantastic. So now on to the meat of it per se. You still have the jousting test of strength, the skill tests and all that. They still throw the flowers out. They still do a lot of those pieces have stayed the same. They're still doing the lancing. That has stayed the same. When it comes to them jousting each other, that again, it's a similar style. They didn't really change too much. In ours, we actually did a lot more mounted combat. So there was a thing where one of the guys got taken down. He was they then gave him the shield, and they then did a guy on horseback with a sword fighting a guy with a sword and shield on the ground. I'm like, okay, that was really it's something I hadn't seen in the previous ones. I have seen mounted combat where the guy has got like the flail and it just hits the guy. But as I'm seeing him actually do sword fighting for mounted combat was interesting. I'm like, okay, this is cool. I'm not going to spoil too much. They do a few different things in the turn portion itself. I liked seeing them do much more with double swords. A few of the moves were definitely a little bit more zhuzhed up, I will say. So if you liked the original show, this one gives you just enough to make it just different enough. And if you're lucky enough and your eclair is better, I mean, nothing better than you're there. The food is still good. I mean, the food hasn't really changed, except for we had a better eclair. You guys mentioned numerous times the previous eclair there sucked. I'm sorry, just it wasn't a good eclair. It was very much like hey, here's your thumb with some chocolate on it and a little bit of custard in the center. Now it's actually, it's got some substance to it. The chocolate's of better quality. The pastries are better quality. There's definitely a little more in the way of custard when we had it. And they added a few more things to the actual fighting itself. Great seeing a lot more use of pole arms. And seeing someone use like the pole axe versus like the flail. And I was like, oh, okay, this should be neat. So, seeing some of those things. And, they definitely did more with the way of trips and with rolls and big, massive swings where, depending on where you were, it's like that looks like he could really hurt the person if they weren't working together. Sorry, they're not trying to kill each other. So I was like, you know what? This is pretty good. And I was told this with the people that I was at. So we bought our slushies because, gotta get a souvenir cup. And they went, well, if you bring your cup back, you can get a refill for $5. I was like, oh. So I got a pair of drinking horns from when we went there with my daughter and my folks and my wife's folks. And we got the drinking horns. Thank you, Alan from Mammoth Club. So I have a pair of drinking horns in my office. And I was like, well, if we could bring those back, like, could we get the refills? The guy was like, yeah, like, the refills are $5. You can bring back previous cups. And I was like, mind blown. So if you're a fan of Medieval Times in the past, they've done enough updates, definitely worth going to see again. Now, I will always say, normally they say there's like 15 MT, which is 15% off. Occasionally 20 MT works as well. But if you liked it in the past and you haven't gone in a while and you want to kind of just, relive some of that, it's a cool tournament. The food's pretty good, but you're pretty much there just to watch the fighting. And for the price point, it's hard to do live entertainment of this caliber and have it not easily run you into like 3 digits per person.